Thank you so much, everyone that is joining us for this very special discussion on The Final Girl. I am joined by two amazing writers on Substack. Sorry, the feed came on and all of a sudden I was talking in my own ears. I'm joined by Kimberly and Margaret, and we are here to talk about horror. We all, in some way, are consumers and writers about and lovers of, and some of us even write horror. And so we wanted to dive into what exactly it is about this genre that just sticks with us, and also to talk about the final girl. So if we would introduce ourselves, Kimberly, let's start with you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Ramsawak, and I am the creator and writer for Horror Concierge, a Substack newsletter where I talk about horror, specifically horror movies and books, through the lens of women's empowerment and reinvention. So we take a look at all of the horror movies from the past all the way to present day, and really take a look at how those horror movies provide lessons for women and how we could reinvent ourselves and thrive, not just survive and be better women.
Awesome. And you, Margaret?
I'm Margaret Bell. I'm also on Substack, Margaret Bell Counseling. I am a therapist and I write about horror and how it intersects with mental health as well as thanatology. So, that is the study of death, dying, and bereavement. And so, I'm looking at how all those intersect.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that I am so excited to talk to. I mean, between the three of us, I feel like we have one love of horror, but like cover so many different bases, and so I'm so excited to talk to both of you. I am Carrie King. I am a Substack writer. I have a Substack called Remembering What Haunts and What Heals. I write horror. I also am an essayist, and I write a lot about spiritual deconstruction and kind of the intersection of horror and institutional and systemic systems. So systemic horror, especially with religious systems, high control religion, that kind of thing. So I think through horror, we all kind of, those who love horror and write horror kind of work out their issues on the page. And I feel like horror and as a genre allows me to do that more than a lot of other genres do. So I would love to know what in particular about horror attracted you to the genre, and what is it about this specific genre that you just find so important to your work and worth focusing on?
Sure, I'll go. I think what attracted me to horror is, horror has been in my life as long as I can remember being alive. I've been watching horror movies since I was 6 years old. My father introduced horror to my sister and I when we had VHS tapes and we used to go to the video store, West Coast Video, and the first horror movie I ever saw was The Exorcist, coupled with Michael Jackson's Thriller. So that
Wow.
was the early introduction of horror in my life, and ever since then, I've just been hooked. So I think horror has always been a constant in my life. It's been there through all the emotions.
Oh, I don't know. Can Kimberly, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Kimberly,
Carrie. I can't hear Kimberly.
yeah. Oh no, Kimberly, you cut out. Um, we we lost the last bit of what you were saying. Um, shoot.
I know.
Oh, gotta love these technical difficulties. Oh, are
Oh,
you
there we
back?
go.
Oh,
I
there we
hear
go.
you
Okay,
I
now.
hear you.
perfect. Yay, you're back. Okay, we just missed the last bit of what you were saying. I would love
Sure.
if you could repeat that.
I think if I remember correctly, just how I loved throughout, since I've been over 20 something year watcher of horror, I love to, if you sort of retrospectively look at how where horror started from the early days of Halloween, 70s, 80s to now, it has been such a transition and a good one in how women have been depicted in women's stories and just a number of women creators in the space. So it's been really cool to see that transition over the years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I have had several it's funny. I have heard all along growing up, which by the way, I was not allowed to watch horror growing up. I wasn't allowed to watch like certain Disney movies like G-rated. And I always heard that the horror genre is for men and
Hmm.
boys
Hmm. Hmm.
consistently over and over again. And so I love that we are three women talking about horror and that you mentioned that there are more and more women creators of horror. I think that that is so important to really highlight that it is not just a genre for one gender. It is for all of us. So, Margaret, what about you?
Yes, and I just wanted to add to that, like the
Mhm.
feminine voice and how you're saying like horror has been deemed for men. I feel like that touches on Zoe Kravitz Blink Twice, where a lot of women seem to be upset by that. And that's probably a whole other video on its own. I feel like that's a great feminist twist on horror, bringing the feminine voice. So, back to your original question, started as a teenager watching horror. And then as I began to get into it more, I've become fascinated with the concept of what's called the dark coper. So people that have mental health challenges or issues or illness, there's a subgroup of horror watchers that actually find horror to be a way to ease anxiety, depression, schizoaffective symptoms. And I find that really fascinating, this group of people, that horror is actually a way that helps them cope with their mental health.
I had never heard that term before. I'm going to write that down. The
Yeah, neither have I. That's so
dark
cool.
coper.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote about it on my Substack.
Okay.
There's the white knuckler, the adrenaline junkie, and the dark coper is usually how people engage with horror. And there's a man in Europe that actually studies this through his college. They have a haunted house and they study how people interact with horror. And that's where the dark
Wow.
coper came from. They found this group of people that horror is a way for them to settle their nervous system, to ease their symptoms.
That's
Wow.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm going to have to go and check your article out because I want to know more about that. I think it's interesting how uh, I I was taught growing up. Well, apparently I was taught a lot of things about horror and then not able to watch it. But that you know you people that enjoy horror are kind of like these sick, twisted people who, I mean, it's they're flirting with the idea of the occult. So, it's I was always taught you open yourself up with the littlest thing, you play Dungeons and Dragons, and all of a sudden you're killing children, or you're watching, a horror movie and you are killing children. Like it's like that gateway drug. And it's interesting to me now to understand that horror there's so many reasons why you would watch and engage with this genre. Some of them are, like you said, the dark coper of people finding relief and mental health from engaging and consuming horror. For me, it's also about working out so many things. Like there's something about the genre that, as I mentioned earlier, like holds a mirror up to
Mm-hmm.
us in society. And for some reason, I mean, and lots of genres do this, but I think horror does it particularly well, that we can see how we think about women, how we think about race, how we think about power and agency, and it is through the lens of horror. It just is such an effective communicator
Mm-hmm.
of who we really are.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of what draws me to the genre. Is I almost, and I said this in the live that we were in before, Kimberly, but almost like inviting the monsters that scare me in, and asking them, okay, what do you want to tell me? I'm
Mm.
listening. What do you want to say? Instead of just being so afraid and letting the fear take over, almost getting curious
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
about what haunts you. Because I kind of suspect what haunts you can actually turn around and heal you, which is why I named my Substack what I did, what haunts and what heals. So anyway, what who what is I had never heard of the final girl trope until you, Kimberly, brought it up and you were like, oh, we should talk about this. And then I've just done this like deep dive into this whole world. How do you define the final girl? What is that for people that don't know?
Yeah, I think traditionally in the basic definition of the term as it relates to the horror world, the final girl is just the last girl standing in a horror movie, the one that survives, and she's the last girl standing. No matter how she survives, she's the sole survivor. She's the final
Mm.
girl. But I think in my interpretation of it over the years, as horror has grown and progressed, and from an infant into an adult, I think that the final girl, for me, especially as I talk about women's empowerment and reinvention and femininity in horror, the final girl to me is just the woman that is not just a survivor because she got lucky. She is a survivor because she uses her God-given traits to thrive and to, yes, survive, but to come out stronger than she was when the movie started. So whether that's resilience, adaptability, strategic thinking, critical thinking, all these different traits, leadership ability, femininity, leaning into being a woman and being strong in that. That's what the final girl means to me. And I think a lot of the movies, which we'll get into, I'm sure, really depicts, I think, that sort of modern definition of the final girl. I always say in my newsletter, this is hard for the grown ass, modern ass woman, because that's what we are. We're no longer the woman in the short shorts and the tattered t-shirt and the bra, running with heels on, falling down, screaming. We're the woman that's picking up the axe and going in first. So I think it's just how overall as a society, how women depiction has changed, and I think that's sort of mirrors and parallels with the definition of final girl.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I want to know how, because it seems like when I watch something like, for instance, Halloween, the first Halloween, I think it was 1978.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very different final girl than, let's say, Grace from Ready or Not.
Sure.
And Ready or Not, I think, came out, I think in the last 10 years or something like
Yeah.
that. So I
Mhm.
mean, it's much more modern than Halloween is, but uh, I think it's interesting how it seems like the trope has kind of morphed over time.
And even in your example that you gave with Halloween, Laurie Strode, which is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, the final girl in Halloween 1 in the late 70s to the last installment of the Halloween, I forget the year it came out, that is a whole different final girl in and of itself, as a woman that's grown into her strength,
Mm.
grown, and some may argue, like, that comes with age, of course it does, but I think her depiction of over a 40-year lifespan, dealing with Michael Myers is definitely different from the beginning to the end,
Yeah, definitely.
which is awesome.
And I love that example too. We see like Lori, like early 70s Final Girl, is usually saved by a male character. She's
Mhm.
saved by Dr. Loomis. Then when we get to Grace and Ready or Not, she saves herself. And as Kimberly's talking about, we see the evolution of feminine rage, of
Mhm.
female anger being able to be used as a way, as a voice, as a stepping into women claiming their own and no longer accepting societal rules about what society says. Like, Lori, you're going to be saved by Dr. Loomis, where
Yeah.
Grace is like, no, I'm done with all of this and I'm actually tired of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, do we, is there a, because I was looking at the evolution of it, right? Where women are saved by men at the beginning. I mean, even she survives, whereas everyone else doesn't. So she's still a final girl, but she's saved by a man, by Dr. Loomis at the end. But then now the modern uh, incarnation of it is that she saves herself.
Mhm.
Where, if you had in your ideal world, where would the final girl go next? Meaning, like, where do you see her? How she has transformed through time. Where do you want her to keep going to? Where do you see her going
Mhm.
as a trope in the future?
Definitely telling more of her story, more complex narratives around her as a person, and not just dipping your toe in the story when the adversity happens at the point in the movie where the
Mm-hmm.
climax is. We'll love to see more storytelling around her and her strength at the beginning before anything even jumps off. I would love to see that. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. To see her already strong, not that she became strong through adversity, that she was already strong to begin with.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great answer.
I would love to see her, and we're already starting to see this, but I could definitely use more of this. I grew up in purity culture, having been raised in fundamentalist high control Christianity in the 90s. Purity culture was a major, massive deal. And it's interesting that as much as we were told, don't watch horror movies, the final girl, if I could be critical of it, the trope definitely reinforces purity culture because in general, anyone that has sex, it seems like in a horror movie is gonna die. You know,
Yeah.
like, and when we look at the different like Lori from Halloween and Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, like these are virginal,
Mhm.
pure, sexually almost uninterested type of women. And whereas their friends are all very excited about hooking up with their boyfriends in the future, I just don't. I feel like that's selling women short. And it is just, like I said, playing into that whole purity culture thing where it's like, you, because the implication really is if you listen to your body and follow your bodily instincts, which are to be sexual, we are sexual beings, you, you could die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel like a great message to be sending out into the world. I would love to see our final girls uh, have full, like you were saying, Kimberly, have full human lives, full
Mhm.
human experiences where they are living lives on their own terms,
Mhm.
doing whatever they want to do, and not portraying this weird purity virginal thing. Like I don't want any more. I am done with that.
Yes,
So that would
we're
be my
done with that.
answer. Yeah, we're done with that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what 2026 has in store for us as far as
Right.
new movies and stuff. But yeah, I thought Weapons was really good in showing a little bit about the final girl, if you will's arc. But yeah, we definitely have strides to improve upon
Right.
for sure.
I kind of think that, and not that men can't do that, not that men can't push the boundaries and help in the final girl's sort of transformation towards a more modern woman that's more fleshed out. But I do kind of think that all of that's going to come with more women participation in
Hmm.
writing, in directing, in all kind of the parts of making a horror film that are seen as so like it's been dominated by men, and as a result we get these kind of like very archetypal
Yeah.
two-dimensional
Hmm.
versions of what a woman is. And we're
Hmm.
so much more than that. We're so
For
much
sure.
more than our boobs and our bodies and, you know, like what our purity and sort of all of that stuff. So if women out there, if you are thinking, "Oh, maybe I want to go into directing or whatever, but like I'm, you know, I don't know." Do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Women's voices is 1,000% needed in the horror space. I mean, just looking at the Substack app alone, there's so many of us, just through sheer, people like, oh, I didn't know you had this newsletter, and you meet one person, you meet like just how I met the both of you, which
Mhm.
such unique stances on horror. I mean, the three of us have such unique niches within the horror space. But there's a ton of brand new Substackers who are women in the horror space who started Substack, and then after two posts, they're sort of dormant, and I'm sure it has to do with feeling isolated, feeling like you're the only one, feeling like you're writing into the void. So definitely there's community to be had in a Substack world, and to really sort of advertise and publicize that we're out here, we exist. We have something to say. What we have to say is important, and can really shape horror in a unique and interesting way for the future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, Kimberly, when you mentioned talking about the final girl, I got really curious and wanted to know more, like the origins of what that term, where did it even come from? And it turns out that it was coined by Carol J. Clover in her, hopefully this is not backwards,
Okay.
Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film. She has an essay in here called Her Body Himself. And it's a really interesting read for all our readers and viewers out there that want to get academic with gender and agency and power and men and women and all those things, and how those really play out. The modern horror genre really, like I was saying earlier, if we want to understand our attitudes toward women, towards gender, towards race, towards all these different things, horror is really a way to do it. Like it reveals how we feel about people.
Hmm.
Yes.
And yeah. So in that, Carol J. Clover says that the final girl has to be a girl, because if it's we as a modern audience living in a patriarchal society would not be able to tolerate a weeping, pleading, crying, begging for his life man, right?
Yeah.
And I read that and I was like, "Psh," and then I thought, well, wait a minute.
Hmm.
Oh. okay. So I thought that was really interesting. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that a final boy is possible?
No. I mean, you have
I
horror
want to
movies
know.
where, I mean, they are horror movies where there's the last guy standing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone sort of raises their eyebrows to that or says, "Oh, good for him." Like, and that stems from history, I guess, and how we're conditioned as a human being, and whether we're male or female. But because they're top of the food chain, right? Theoretically, right?
Yep.
And I feel like when a woman overcomes anything, whether no matter how small or how big, it's a big deal, or it was made to
Mhm.
be a big deal back in the day.
Right.
So, and even now, I mean, even now in some recent horror movies, when you have the last woman standing, it's still, the final girl is still a thing. It's still celebrated. I mean, and whether the point is, yes, we love that it's celebrated, but why is it even celebrated to begin with? It should just be the norm. Like you
Right.
don't let an eyelash at the man, so why do it at the woman? But we have a long way to get there before it gets to that level. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are unlikable. I think of Justin Long in Barbarian when he's almost the final guy
Yeah.
and he's weeping and he's crying and he's so unlikable. And then he makes the final girl that much more powerful because you don't. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you don't like him as a character. He's a very
Mm-hmm.
misogynistic
Mm-hmm.
and he's a sex offender. So when he's crying, though, you're like, ew, this is very unlikable, which adds to her story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think.
For
I mean,
true.
I've seen movies where men really cry, right? And but I can't think of a movie where a man was begging for his life, right? All the things that the final girl usually
Mm-hmm.
does when she meets the killer in the last 30 minutes of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Where she's crying, sobbing, bargaining, I'll do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. It's really in that transitional point where it's right before she discovers, oh, I know who I really am.
Yep.
And she digs
Mhm.
deep, finds the strength, and really steps into her agency.
Yep.
Right before that, she's begging for her life. And I'm trying to think of a movie that I've seen or has been made where it's portrayed a man begging for his life, where he was not a pathetic character, or
I mean, I guess
where.
you have like the torture movies like Saw or
Hmm.
Hostel, where there are men who are begging for their lives, they're being tortured, but
Hmm.
they're not a pivotal character or in the movie, like I think the reason why the final girl is the final girl is because she's such an important character, even though we don't know it yet in real time of watching the movie. In retrospect, when the movie is done, you're like, oh, that character was a pivotal person in the arc and of the story. You thought she was
Hmm.
maybe a background character, and then she came to the forefront in whatever which way. Um, and I think it's different when a woman is like that versus a man. And the men that are crying and begging, they're like, I don't know what the kids say these days, like a non important factor in the movie or whatever, like in a video
Right.
games. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think it's
Kimberly,
a point.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, go
I feel like
ahead.
you touch on the Bechdel test, right? That movies are written for men, by men, about men, and so women
Mhm,
then are
mhm.
usually supporting characters
Yep.
for
Yep.
the men. And so I think that adds to what
Right.
you're saying, Carrie,
Mhm,
about women. Naturally, people are expecting us in films to
yep.
be there to support the male
Mhm.
characters.
Right. Margaret, you mentioned the Bechtel test. Can you
Mhm.
explain what that is for anyone that doesn't
Yes.
isn't aware?
So it's if a movie can pass the test that a woman, and I believe it has to be two women, have a conversation outside the main male characters in the movie. So they're talking about anything but the men. Most movies, it's fascinating if you keep this in mind while watching a movie, how many times you're like, oh, the women are having a conversation that has to do with the main male character. So it has to be two women talking about something other than the main male character.
Yeah. And it happens in movies that we absolutely adore. Like I love Lord of the Rings so much in that literally there's, I think, one scene in, I think, the second or third one where a little girl is like, "What do we do, mama?" And that's it. Like in the whole trilogy. And it breaks my heart because I'm just like, no. But yeah, I think that's, I think you're absolutely right. That yeah, we are expected to be supporting characters for men, and I think also like we are not expected to survive,
Mhm.
you know, and that's what makes the final girl so powerful because she, by virtue of being a woman, overcomes so much more than if a man were to overcome. It's expected that the man is going to overcome. It's
Exactly.
not.
Yep.
It's not for the woman.
Yes.
Yep.
So, yeah. Um so another thing that Carol J. Clover says that the final girl as a trope does is that it does something for, oh, what was the word she used? She the first half of the movie, typically, I mean, this is a big generalization, but in a slasher film, the first half of the movie, men usually identify with the killer character.
Mm.
By the second half, somewhere in there, we've shifted to now they are identifying with the final girl, which is interesting because you hear and like another sweeping generalization, men are like, oh yeah, the blood and do do do, and
Yeah.
yeah, like they're rooting for the character that is angry, rageful, vengeful, all those things, and by the
Mhm.
end we are solidly in final girl's perspective, which I think is a
Absolutely.
really fascinating thing because it
Yeah.
forces the male gaze into that perspective. And
Mhm.
like I said, before she discovers her power, she is crying, weeping, begging, doing all of these things, which is a really interesting position, I think, for the male gaze to be shoved into.
Yeah. I mean, a perfect example of that is Hellraiser. For the first
Mm.
half of the movie, Kirsty is a background character. We're focused so much on Frank
Mm-hmm.
and rooting for Frank to become back whole and human. And the Cenobites are the enemy, even though Frank is horrible, but we're rooting for
Mm-hmm.
him. Not until Christy comes in the picture towards, the second half of the movie. And we see her, like, you're rooting for her, and you're like, okay, wait, no, Frank is not the main person here. It's really Christy.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing her grow into her final girl energy and defeating the Cenobites in the end. You're not really worried about Frank anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was horrible, but
Yeah.
in the beginning, you were rooting for him in the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's just so interesting. It's almost like we are blurring gender perspective in a way halfway through the movie.
Hmm.
Um, and, uh, and I'm trying to think of like other genres that do that so kind of so formulaically. Like there's a lot of formulas in horror,
Hmm. Hmm.
the genre,
Yeah.
like um how specific how things have to work, and I can't really think of another genre that kind of, I don't know, that does that with gender. Um, Another thing that she talks about is how, and I would love to know your perspective on this, that the final girl is almost she's a woman, but she's almost like, we see the final girl being a tomboy a lot, or being things like called like, almost androgynous names, and she's almost sexless in a way.
Mhm, mhm,
And she's some, I've seen, women fixing cars,
mhm.
women being really interested in studies, which I think is more of a thing now than it used to be, where it was like, oh, well, to be a professor, to be interested in school, that's more of a male thing, and we have the killer, on the other hand, almost seems to be like, there's so many male killer monsters that are almost emasculated.
Yeah.
And so you have these two characters that once again are blurring gender, with the final girl almost going towards the masculine and the male killer going towards the feminine. Do you agree with that? Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know about you, Margaret, but like in Alien, Ripley was super sexless,
Mm-hmm.
like, even when she was in, her tank top and underwear, it was like, super boyish, tomboyish. Um, you didn't see her in a different light until Aliens, when she had the sexual tension,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. For sure, I definitely think Final Girls are either, especially in the early history of Final Girls, super sexualized, super damsel in distress, to then going to the opposite spectrum of super masculine, super tomboy, super not gorgeous or sexual at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was either, one of either extremes. So yeah, that's why I like movies like Ready or Not, where she, I thought Grace was a good depiction of being in the middle. Um, you know.
Totally.
hmm
Yep. Yep.
Yes. And I love that you bring up, right, Alien and Aliens, where the predator is very, it's flipping the trope. The men are the ones that are being violated by
hmm
the
hmm
killer. And so they
hmm
balance
Yeah.
that with
Yeah.
Ripley being more masculine. And I think a good final girl, I don't know if you either of you seen Revenge by
hmm
Coraline. She's the one that did the substance.
Yeah.
So here we have a very female, sexualized female that has, she ends up being assaulted, and the whole movie is about her getting her revenge, where she is a very feminine
hmm
female, and she holds that through the whole
hmm
movie. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that film saying, we're going to take this and we're not going to make the final girl this androgynous or
Yes.
tomboy. She's going to hold
Yes.
her femininity throughout
Yes.
the
And I
film.
loved how they focused on her earrings a lot in that movie.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a clever way of showing her femininity, just showing her these earrings that she was wearing. Yeah. Definitely
Yes.
agree with you.
That's cool. I've not seen that movie. I just wrote it down on my list.
Good.
Every time I do these things, I get a whole list of films that like I said, I'm playing catch up. Wasn't allowed to watch any of these things growing up, so I'm gonna watch them now. Um,
hmm
yeah, yeah, just women being real depictions of women, just real.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. I watched Ready or Not over the weekend, so it's really fresh in my mind. Grace felt so real to me. She was funny. She's,
Yeah.
but it's interesting when you have, because I feel like society is like, either you're funny or you're pretty, but
Yeah.
you can't do both.
Or smart and pretty. Yeah.
Exactly.
hmm
Like, and Grace is all three of those things
hmm
all throughout that film. Like, she she survives. She just felt like whoever wrote her, it just and then the actress that plays her, Samara Weaving,
Moving, yeah.
was so natural and just so believable. I really, really appreciated what what they did with that character, the actress and the writing. It was just so it felt so natural, even though the treatment of it, it's supposed to be almost like a dark comedy
Yeah.
in the treatment. Like she was great. So yeah, we need more of that. Women being real women, fleshed out, real lives, real.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved her comedic element as well. She was hilarious. Very
So
just
good.
dry humor. Yeah, that's so relatable. So yeah, for sure.
Yep. Oh, and that last, when she puts on that white wedding dress, it is just going to be just red dripping with
Yeah.
blood at the end. I looked at my husband and I said, "Oh, that dress is about to go through it."
Yeah,
And
when
it
she
did.
ripped it and they showed like the tattered edges with her sneakers, classic
Yes.
scene. And that said a lot
Yes.
about the final girl and just sort of a middle finger to the whole system of marriage, the white dress, everything. It was just so, yeah, like you said, so well written from that point of view.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, we're talking about virginal, purity.
Mhm.
You can't get any more than like a white wedding dress, right? But it's Grace in this film. It's Grace that after the wedding, she's like, "Let's have sex now" to her new group, and he's the one that's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like she's pushing for that, and then by the end, it is just her dress is destroyed. It just
Yeah.
takes that it's such a visual, tangible representation of that
Mhm.
purity that we just come to expect
Oh
in the
yeah.
final girl, and she's just
Mhm.
saying nope. Here I am at the end when she's on the steps and all the family is blown up. Sorry if you haven't seen the movie, I just ruined it. um, Everyone's all blown up. She's all splattered in blood. She's sitting out on the
Yep.
veranda there, the back
Yep.
steps, with her cigarette that she just took off of her exploded ex-mother-in-law, and I can't. Her last law line, in-laws. Like it's just
Mhm.
so
So
deadpan.
good.
It's
So
so good.
so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
I
yeah,
love it.
that's the energy I want to see
Mhm.
from horror. I want to, oh, with her, like,
Yeah.
when she loads herself up with all the
Yep.
ammunition. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, I mean, I always say that every final girl brings a different type of energy to every movie. And in this particular movie, just adaptability and just like, no, I'm not backing down. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to think quick on my feet. She was quick. No time to, cry. I don't think we ever saw her break down in the entire movie, actually, come to think about it.
Thank goodness.
No.
Not that you
Not
can't
once.
cry, not that,
Yeah.
but like, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a thing floating around social media a while ago where it was like, just a compilation of different cuts from
Mhm.
movies, horror and non, that was like the girl looks over at the guy and she goes, "What do we do?"
You
Like
sound just like
over,
it
and I
too.
was like, "What?" Like surely. But then it was movie after movie, like the same thing where do you know of any women that would look over in a crazy scenario at a guy that she's with and go, "What do we do?" I don't.
Yeah.
Like, we are quick on our feet. We're solving problem. Like, I keep hearing
Mhm.
over and over, like, if and this is not like me bashing on men. I think men are great. And I also think that women have so much more to offer than how we're portrayed.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
But there's batches of movies where we're getting there. We're getting there
Yeah.
slowly but surely. We're getting there.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Can you think of what are more horror films that are modern that are the final girl, but are portraying women fleshed out as being capable, etc. If you can think of any off the top of your head.
You can go, Margaret.
Yeah. The one that comes to mind, and it's a tense watch. I don't know if you've seen it, Kimberly, Soft and Quiet. It's by
I
a
have not.
female director,
Mm.
and she's touching on race. And she said in an interview this was her fear. I believe she's South American. I don't remember from where. And so it's all women, and you have a group of racist women who
Hmm.
decide to attack a group of
Hmm.
women who I believe are of Hispanic or Latinx
Hmm.
descent. And so the whole movie is a really tense, it's a really uncomfortable watch. As Kimberly talks about, like, and you do the mirror to society, you are watching this and you're like, oh my gosh. And I feel like that movie shows a lot of different women from a lot of different
Hmm.
points of view, and even groupthink that can
Hmm.
happen
Yeah.
in groups where it's, yeah, that one. Maybe I'm trying to think, like, traditional final girl. I don't know. Kimberly, do you have any
Yeah, there's a
newer
couple. I mean,
ones?
I love You're Next. That movie is so
Oh,
good.
yes.
As far as Erin, the character Erin as a final girl, I mean, talk about a wild, just a wild
Yes.
card. You had no idea she would be a final girl,
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but please go watch it if you haven't seen it. You're next. But man, and her energy was just resourceful,
Hmm.
resourcefulness. She was something. I'm trying not to
Hmm.
Yes.
spoil it, but yeah, you're next. Ready or not. Um, oh, one of my favorite, like in my top five for final girls, is Prey, Naru in Prey. She was a phenomenal final girl as well.
Yes.
I'm writing
And
all
and
these
she was in
down.
that movie battling generational oppression,
Hmm.
feminine oppression. Like the woman is supposed to gather nuts and berries and tend to the land and cook, and she was not having it. She was not
Yes.
having it. She wanted to hunt, so
Mm.
That
very good.
brings to mind Slash Back. Have you seen Slash Back, which is by a female creator? And it's
Slash
final
back.
girl. Slash Back. It
No, I
takes
haven't.
place.
Hmm.
She filmed it in Alaska on an Indian reservation, and all the actors are indigenous actors. The whole film crew is
I think I have
indigenous,
seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
and the final girls are all young. They're girls
Hmm.
probably 10
Hmm.
to 13. They're
Wow.
resourceful and they're outsmarting the alien
I was gonna say,
invasion.
is it an alien, right? An alien invasion, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I've
a
seen that.
really,
Yeah.
it's sweet. So if for those
It's
of
cool.
people watching that aren't into horror, this is a really sweet. Like, as a young girl, I would have loved this,
Yes.
that empowerment from
Yes.
these young females that are like,
Yes.
we don't need the men, we don't need the parents. We are gonna
Hmm.
figure this out on our
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, because they were
Yeah.
like preteen teenagers in that movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good movie. That's on Shutter. Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty
And
cool.
it's called Slashback.
Mhm. Flashback.
Okay,
Mhm.
Slashback. That's awesome. Margaret, you brought up the idea of or the race. I would love to know how race intersects with the final girl, how it has been portrayed, where it's going, and where where it could go.
That's a great question. I think we need a lot more diverse voices in horror. I recently watched Master, which doesn't necessarily have I it's about race on a college campus, and that was very interesting. I think horror needs those voices. We need more Jordan Peele's. We need
Mhm. Mhm.
And this was by a female creator. again, so it's touching on it. I don't think we have enough. I think people often get uncomfortable. I mentioned Blink Twice at the beginning.
Mhm.
I did not expect so many women. As a woman, I loved this movie. I loved Free. I loved her evolution. I felt like a lot of women were very offended, especially with Zoe Kravitz portraying sexual assault. Yet male creators do it all the time. And I feel like
Exactly.
she was making a point about race in America. Black women are the ones
Hmm.
that are treated the worst. They are the bottom of the
Hmm.
totem pole. I feel like in that movie, she was
Yep.
pointing that out.
Yep.
And then that pointed to white fragility in the women viewers that watched
Yeah.
it that couldn't hold that, so that they were offended. I can't believe she put a trigger warning at the beginning. I was like, that's great. I love that. That tells
Yeah.
people it's going to be a hard movie to watch. Don't like it. Get out. And I even challenged women. I know I'm like, you're upset about this. You watched The Last House on the Left. You watched I Spit on Your Grave. You have watched these horrendous sexual assault scenes, and you felt hers was too much.
Mhm.
I No, hers didn't even
Yeah,
compare in
I
Blink.
think yeah, I think the reason why people were had a problem with it, to be quite frankly, was because she was a black woman,
Mhm.
and her love interest was a white man, and a very handsome, charming, white man,
Yes.
Channing Tatum's. So I think that was a disconnect, and I think that the fact that we haven't seen many final girls of color, and much less black women, I think it was just like a cognitive dissonance where we're like, wait, I'm not used to this. And to be honest, you really saw no violence, and you saw very little violence
Mhm.
as compared to The Last House on the Left. I mean, The Last House on the Left was brutal and graphic and gory and very visceral. Blink Twice was a lot of inference and a lot of,
Mhm.
it was very artsy and very, very well done, but you didn't see nearly half, maybe that one scene that went by so fast, you
Mhm.
know? But I think definitely, like you said, like women of color as final girls, especially black women, I can count on one hand how many final girls are of color. I mean, the movie Run Sweetheart Run with Cherie, she is a phenomenal black woman
Yes.
that's a final girl, phenomenal. And I think they don't get those movies, very few and far in between, don't get enough clout and respect. I mean, she's ranked right up there with Laurie Strode, right up there with Nancy Thompson, right up there with with Ripley. I mean, she was fierce the entire movie. And
Yes.
yeah, and also Evie in The Invitation. That's another woman of color in a horror movie that I thought was really, really good.
Yes.
Um and then even doing, secondary roles of Vasquez and Aliens. I mean, she was a badass. I mean, she wasn't the final
Mhm.
girl, but she was such a, like, whoa, like a woman of color who is just muscular and just, so I don't know. I think like you said, we definitely have a long way to go. For sure.
Yes, because they are badass. They are, like you said,
Mhm.
phenomenal. And the
Mhm.
end of Blink Twice,
Yeah.
I loved it. I was
Me
like,
too.
yes,
Me
yes,
too.
yes. And another black final girl barbarian I can't think
Yep.
of
Yep.
the name.
Hmm.
She is,
Yep.
yes, we need more, way
Hmm.
more. Nope. We have a final girl in Nope, and I love her
Yep.
too.
Yep. I think that's about it. I think we named them all. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and as you said, like, I mean, we're making strides, but yeah, those movies nearly don't get enough play when you think of Final Girls. And yes, you have the iconic Final Girls, the first that paved the way, that have that instant brand recognition. But there's so much more, so many others that are equally as fierce and memorable.
Hmm. And more dimensional, as you're
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think Cherie in Run Sweetheart Run, she was a single mother. She was a single
She
mother,
was.
and she had, and she was fighting to go back to her baby. I mean, you rarely see that.
Yes, on her
So,
period, which
and
I
she was on her
loved.
period. Yes. Oh,
That was like a forefront of the movie. I was like, this is a movie about a woman menstruating.
yes.
I was like, yes, please.
Oh
Like
my
when
God.
it drips on the floor, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
yes. What
Oh, so
woman
good.
hasn't been
So
there?
good. I forgot that. Yeah, her period was a key pivotal factor in the arc of the movie. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yes.
Hmm.
It's so, so good. So good.
That's awesome. I've been noticing, this is a side note, I've been noticing a lot more portrayals of menstruation. Like, remember growing up where it was like you had the pad commercials and it was like this blue fluid? And we were like, what the hell? Is that Windex? Like, nobody relates to that. But like, I'm seeing I can't remember who it was, some, I think maybe an actress, and she had white pants on and she deliberately put like red paint on her pants to be like, yeah, deal with it.
Mhm.
This is not weird and it's not shameful and it's not gross. It is.
Yes.
We're not going to Windex it anymore. Yeah. Same thing with, I was so delighted. This isn't horror, but the animated film Going Red, how there's a whole scene about like the mom being like, "Are you on your period?" Like this is a I think it's a Pixar movie. A Pixar movie where a mom asks her daughter, "Are you on your period? Like do you need a pad or whatever?" Like
Do
that
you need a
would not have
hug?
yeah, like it would not have had like we don't talk about those things is like the implication that I got when I was a kid. You know,
Mhm.
so the idea that like we are getting more comfortable with that just being like, oh yeah, like in a movie, she drips period blood. Like, yes, please.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yep.
It's
it
normal.
was. Yeah, that movie really did normalize. Like she's in the gas station bathroom, she's doing the whole toilet paper trick, and as a woman, I'm like, finally a movie that is normalizing what we go through when we're on our period and we're
That's
caught
right.
off guard.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. And not for nothing, she was a beast when I don't want to give away the movie, but there's a scene where she does something to mask the smell of her menstrual blood. And I thought that was badass. Like, no
Hmm.
hesitation. Oh, so good. So good.
Yes,
Yep.
Mhm. Go
That's
see it,
amazing.
everyone.
yes.
Well,
Carrie has a whole long line. She's got a whole long list of movies.
I'm writing them down, y'all. I got to catch up.
Kimberly and I can keep them coming. I feel like her and I probably watch a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. Um, yeah. What else about the final girl? What are is there anything that we're missing?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think people don't realize how many movies are out there, horror movies are out there that depict the final girl, like the ones we mentioned. I think people are they sort of assume the final girl is dead because they think of Laurie, like the sort of the godmothers of final girls, Laurie, Nancy, Ripley. But there's so many others and so many types of movies that are out that really have different facets of the final girl. I mean, there's a lot of movies that had that are hidden gems, if you will, that depict the final girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And movies that you don't like. As you're watching it, you're not realizing it, but you're like, oh shit, that was like a final girl movie. Like I just saw Dangerous Animals on Shutter. Have you guys seen that?
Not
Mm-mm.
yet. It's on my to watch list.
It
Is it
is
good?
final. Wait until you ladies watch it. She is a beast, and oh my gosh, you have to watch it.
Oh, I'm
But
excited.
from watching the trailer of the movie, you think it's a serial killer who's killing people by feeding them to sharks. You see that from the trailer, so I'm not doing any spoilers. But there's a girl in there that's just a woman that is just so good. So
I'm
good.
excited.
And that was a movie that snuck up on you, like, oh wait, damn, this is a really good Final Girl movie. Like, so yeah. So there's way more than you would expect of movies that depict the Final Girl.
Hmm.
Yes.
What what does the final girl have to tell us about agency and power and and healing from our trauma? How do we take her, you know, entertainment on a screen? How do we what does she have to do for our lives? What does she teach us?
There's a movie that popped in my head called Sweetheart. That's another one that has a black woman final girl. And I mean, she is gaslit that 95% of that movie by her boyfriend. And it's just to me, watching movies that depict the final girl and in whatever plight they're going through, whether it's being gaslit, whether it's being underestimated, whether it's being written off, whether it's being perceived as too weak, well, all the things. I think it and this has always been my arc of watching horror movies where I feel like I see myself in that character, and I see myself overcoming whatever issues I'm dealing with in my life. I It's a mirror. I think horror is a great mirror for whatever it is. And I think it's the few genres that can be that hold up that constant mirror to show us that, you know, we can overcome adversity no matter what that adversity is, and we could come out stronger on the other side. I think it's a
Mhm.
really good genre for that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like you also tap into, right, the which final girl we identify with. And then I think of Young's shadow aspect. So then, what final girl am I not identifying with? And what does that have to teach me about myself and the parts of me or the parts of society I also need to work to accept? Maybe it's not the final girl, or maybe it's the killer or whoever in the movie. I'm like, I don't like that person. Then what is it that needs to be reconciled within myself so that I
Mm.
can have greater capacity? Resmaa Menakem talks about people sitting with what makes them uncomfortable so that they have greater capacity to sit with the things in the world that makes us uncomfortable. And he talks about how privilege impacts that. The more privilege somebody has, they don't have to sit with more discomfort. The less privilege, the more discomfort. So when you feel uncomfortable with something, leaning into that, sitting with it so that you have greater capacity to sit with
Mhm.
discomfort so you can show up as a better person in the
Mhm.
world.
Yeah. And I think from just being a horror fan, we are more susceptible to doing that, to
Hmm.
giving us, we have the capacity to do that.
Yes.
I think it was American Journal of Psychology study that said that during COVID, horror fans were less anxious, had more resilience, because we've already in thousands of movies faced that boogeyman, faced that dark alley, faced that ghost, faced that slasher, whatever it is. So COVID was just another thing that we had to
Hmm.
face, that we were already used to facing just from being a horror fan. And I think that speaks volumes to the power of horror as a genre that is so underestimated. I mean, 2025 horror is still like the redheaded stepchild of cinema.
Yes,
So,
and then
right?
it's still, even with it, was it the Oscars where The Substance was nominated and it lost to Anora. I don't know. I went ahead and watched Anora to see what it lost to.
Yeah.
Talk about a masculine, sexualized, driven movie. I was like, society still isn't ready for a
Mm-mm.
female told story about the female experience. We're gonna have to watch this movie. Was it, have you, either one of you seen Honora? The
Mm-mm.
I
first
haven't.
30-45 minutes is the stripper partying with her Russian boyfriend. And I was like, I could have had like 5 minutes of this. I'm so bored of this story
Oh,
Mhm.
already.
that
It
Mhm.
is
got better. Like Amira steps into her own power, and it's still
yeah,
a male perspective of the female perspective.
right. Oh man, but the substance. Oh boy. I went in to that movie knowing nothing. I had not seen anything. I was just in a like a horror writers group and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, they're going to be showing this body horror film down at the thing." And I was like, "Sure, yeah." Boy, I was not prepared, y'all. That movie had me, I mean, it just when you thought it was it that you can't go any farther than you've
Mhm.
gone, it went farther. I mean, it was so I was riveted. The entire movie, I was just like it was I don't know. I loved it. I
Yeah,
absolutely
me
loved
too.
that film. So I was so tickled when it got nominated for a bunch of things.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I love what both of you said about your reasons for like what the final girl can teach us. Um, I think like, and this leads into my next question, which is one that you just brought up, Margaret, like which final girl we personally relate to the most and why. Um, I think the final girl for me, watching Nancy Thompson in Nightmare on Elm Street, she was so inspiring because not only is she not in the corner like she has a plan.
Hmm.
She's like, I know what I'm gonna do to defeat this. She like goes after the monster and is like, yeah, and then I'm gonna da 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 da. And at the end, like she takes this massive leap of faith and is like, I'm gonna turn my back on you. I
Hmm.
take back everything that I gave you, all the power that I gave you. My gosh, if I could sum up my trauma in one statement, like that's it. I gave you so much power and now I take it back.
Yep.
So I would have to say Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street is the final girl that I, at least at this point, most identify with in my own life. What about you all?
That's a hard question because there's
Yeah.
facets of every, and I call it energy. There's an energy to every final girl that
Yeah.
I see in my own life at different seasons of my life, different
Mm-hmm.
issues I'm dealing with in my life, past trauma. There's a tidbit from this girl, from this girl, from this girl that I embody in myself. So it's such a hard question to answer, But go ahead, Margaret. I'll think about it and give.
No, like I'm with you,
Sorry.
Kimberly. I'm thinking, I'm like, I love your answer because there's so much, and it's
Hmm.
which final girl then's like, ooh, this piece of her and this piece of her, and what about this? So it's a hard one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as you're
Like,
thinking about the answer, maybe this is an easier question to answer. Which final girl do you least identify with? I don't know if that's going to be easier.
I would say Laurie Strode in Halloween 1, the very
mhm.
first Halloween.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
she didn't come into her power yet. She got lucky. And that was the
Yep.
typical, that was a typical trope of front girl. Like you got lucky, you survived, but you didn't really have anything to do with it. So
Right.
I think Laurie Strode.
Yeah. I agree. So that's also her before her feminist journey, before she's stepping in to her
Mm-hmm.
own and knowing her
Mm-hmm.
feminine power.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that movie this afternoon in preparation for this, and I was like yelling. Like the last 45 minutes is just me yelling at the screen because what you think you're gonna stick him with a knitting needle and that he's just gonna fall over and we're gonna stay in the house after that. We're not running out of the house. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And it happens over and over again. Like when
Mm-hmm.
she stabs him in the closet, we are getting those kids and we are getting the F out of this house. We are leaving. And she's just sort of like, go, kids, go to the police. And I'm gonna like sort of linger here in the stairwell. Like, no, I know you hurt your leg. I know you fell down the stairs, but like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
Come on. Like,
Mhm.
I've not seen any of the other Halloweens. And so it sounds like she has quite a
Mm-hmm.
trajectory and it's like she she maybe gets a little bit better
Mm-hmm. Just
with
a lot better. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. Okay, well then
Yes.
that makes me want to watch them because
Yeah.
like the first one I am totally going to co-sign on your answer, Kimberly, because I just was like, no, Lori, no. And then yeah, like Dr. Loomis comes in and he's the guy. Nick, no. No. Sorry, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear as you watch her
Me
arc and even
too.
Dr. Loomis's arc because oh my, you're gonna get a lot more angry at the TV
Oh
watching
man.
both their arcs.
Oh, I can't wait. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis so
Mhm.
much.
Me
I
too.
have loved watching her like through the year. Like I don't know if you all have seen The Bear. She's in The Bear. It's not horror. It's a TV show. She is so good in that. She is just so I am just so happy that it's her that I get to, like watch along the way. I'm just so I think she's a phenomenal actress and yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, did you all think of the final girl that you identify with the most?
I think I'm gonna go with Naru from Prey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And why?
Only because I don't know, I'm sort of like gauging my response to this answer like really fast in my mind as to
Hmm.
when I'm watching the movie in real time, how emotional I get or my degree of emotions I feel when the final girl sort of triumphs at the end. And I think in the final scene in Prey, where she defeats the predator and then she's walking home to her village with his head and the sheer look of surprise on everyone's face, and she just has such a, like when she defeats the predator, she does her tribal chant. And it's like, I feel that in
Mm.
my bones. It's like
Hmm.
she's so underestimated the whole movie. She's so, like it's you women don't hunt, we go home and gather berries and, get the medicine for the men and she's just so adamant and her mother's asking her like, why do you want to hunt so bad? And she's like, because no one thinks I can, like that's
Mm.
why I want to do it. And it's just her self-validation when she defeats the predator. It's like I feel it in my soul, like, oh, it's so good, such a good scene, and it's now and
Mm.
she ends up being the head of the tribe as a woman, and they're showing
Mm.
little girls looking at her like, wow, like we could be something different.
Yep.
And it's just so good, so good, so good.
Mm.
So yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
I love
Because
that.
we self, like we underestimate ourselves. Like we do it worse than other people do it. Like,
Yep.
and to see her, like I know I can do it. I want to do it. I meant to do it. And then she's like, wait, maybe I'm not supposed to do it. Maybe I'm. And then she goes back up and like, oh, I could do it, and I did it, and it's just so good,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
good.
Ooh, yes.
That's it. That's awesome. I put a star next to that one too. I gotta see that.
Hmm. How about you, Margaret?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Tessa from Barbarian. She's
Mm.
Okay.
so curious and you see her like she's figuring it out and that maybe because I'm a therapist so I'm figuring out what do I have to do to survive and we see that like when she's learning this lady wants
Hmm.
a baby so how do I act like the baby how am I surviving this way and that she holds her empathy throughout the movie which I felt was beautiful that she's a final girl that can fight the enemy and still be empathetic, which I often think a lot of movies take that away. You're either gonna kill the killer and be vengeful, or you're gonna beg for your life. So
Mm.
that's just a
Hmm. Hmm.
final girl that I really appreciated. And we
Mm.
see her struggle through like where she's right, Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård. There, she's like, "Give me your ID. I don't trust you." And her very relatable interactions with him and Justin Long. And I think that movie also makes us challenge what we believe a barbarian to be. So I
Hmm.
won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't
Yes.
seen it because when you watch it, it's gonna.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Carrie, it's gonna be challenged. Like we're gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. That's awesome. Cool.
Mhm.
Well, anything else that you'd like to talk about or that we've missed?
I don't know. The final girls are ever, as we as women, we're multifaceted. We're ever evolving. We have different seasons in our life, and so does the final girl. And I'm sure, as the end of this year, next year comes out, there are going to be, horror movies that keep depicting that, hopefully, but I believe it will. And also, horror literature as well. I think Grady Hendrix does a great job as a man depicting the final girl and as multi-dimensional as we are as women.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, he does. And there's
Right?
some directors too. Even Alex Garland, I feel like, is a
Yeah.
director. Annihilation, Men, that really honors the female story. So when you watch, I appreciate male directors that when I watch it, I'm not like, this is from a male perspective.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
that, and I feel like he's one where I'm like, I know if I go into his film that the women are going to be well represented, to
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not like, okay, yeah, we're seeing the boobs and
Yeah.
we're going to have this. So this is a male gaze driven
Right.
Yep.
horror story.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah. I
Stephen Graham
also,
Jones too is another good writer that tells good stories.
what was the first horror writer that you mentioned, Margaret?
Oh, that was Kimberly. She said Grady
Oh,
Hendrix.
Kimberly Grady
Oh, yeah.
Hendrix.
Grady
Okay.
Hendrix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just making notes. Yeah. I just want to I feel very strongly about the next generation of girls coming up. If you are watching this and you are, I mean, whatever gender you are, and especially if you're interested in being in the arts, contributing to the arts, and you are female or female identifying, we need your voice. We need what you have, and I mean, look at all the places. I mean, in film, in literature, and in all these different capacities, we need female voices. We need you to, we need you. And I just want to encourage anyone that's out there that is, oh, well, what do I have to say? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we need your perspective, and we need your art. And so, yeah,
Yes.
give us what you got.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I will piggyback off of that as a female. And I'd be curious to hear what each of you say. When I know that I'm watching a female directed, a female written horror story, I trust that creator more than I trust a male creator. I feel safer going into that film, feeling like I'm more protected, I'm more understood, seeing
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, there's a woman behind this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same. Likewise, for sure. Yeah. I feel the same way. And I think women horror creators, whether it's literature or cinema, um, they are true fans of horror. I mean, to get into this space, you gotta be appreciate the genre and really love the genre. And I mean, I think with me, I don't ever remember not ever being a horror fan. So I do feel safer and more protected, yeah, when I'm reading and watching it come from a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, as we
Yeah.
even touched on, right? Like Blink Twice, how Zoe Kravitz
Hmm.
handled sexual assault in such a, I did not feel activated as we compared to Last
No.
House on the Left. I still, that movie messed with me. The original one, Carrie, it's a hard watch. I think for
Yes.
probably like a month after I watched it, it was still in my head. I felt violated watching
Hmm.
that movie, how he portrayed the sexual assaults and that.
Hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with what you both have said about, when I am consuming something that I know was written by a woman, it is I feel that way in general though. When I'm in rooms with women, when I'm coaching women, when I'm speaking to women, I just I I know that I'm gonna be a fleshed out human being, and not just and I'm not saying all men. So,
Mhm.
you know, but what I am saying is yeah, I do feel safer. I feel like, you know, I feel safe with women. I do.
Yep.
Yep. It's the
And
man
yeah,
versus the bear.
100% that. That I mean, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
Society has a long
um,
way to come to where
yes, yes, it
we'd rather
does.
see a bear than, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I've heard a lot of men argue with that. If I were a man, I would be really curious. That would make me ask a lot of questions. I'd be asking questions about that.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah.
Are you guys looking forward to any what horror movies are you guys looking forward to seeing in the future? Like that's coming out the rest of this year, or I don't know too much about buzz
Really
about next
excited.
year, but
I really want to see Five Nights at Freddy's. It has a female director. I actually was one of the people that liked the first one. I thought it was a great grief story. Like we were in his grief. So I'm actually looking forward to the next
yeah.
Five Nights. You
Nice.
too.
Nice, too funny. Yeah, my son likes that, so that's like
So does
about
my
the
son.
only horror he will watch. So I gotta take what I can get. But I'm looking forward to Predator Badlands, the next installment. Predator
Oh.
Badlands, because Predator Killer of Killers was so good. That was the next one after Prey. So I
Hmm.
think it's coming out next month, November maybe. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Amazing.
And of course, Black Phone too.
Yes. The first one was so good. I'm really curious to
Mhm.
see where they go with
Yeah.
the
Yep.
second one.
hmm I'm getting Nightmare on Elm Street vibes.
Hmm.
Ooh.
hmm
Hmm.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yes, we'll see.
hmm
Um, I just, in this last week, I had two on my list other than the ones that I was going to watch for this. And I watched them already. It was Bring Her Back,
hmm
and Heretic.
hmm
And I especially, Heretic, I loved the first half, absolutely adored the first half. The second half, I'm a sucker for systemic horror, institutional horror, because of my background and my
Mhm.
upbringing.
Yeah.
And Bring Her Back was, whew, have y'all seen that one?
I
Yeah.
haven't yet.
I love
Good.
in like Studio A24 is I don't there there has not been a movie I think that they've put out that I've been like, like I feel like they're doing some really, really cool stuff.
hmm
Um, and so that I mean I try and catch everything that they're putting out. So
Yeah. If you're into institutionalized horror, you should check out Azrael.
okay.
That's Samara Weaving also.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay.
hmm
Azrael.
hmm
Okay, it's on my
The
list.
good
And that
one. Yes.
she's a good final girl in that movie too.
Hmm.
hmm
Yes.
Yeah, I love her as an
Me too.
actress. She's
Yeah.
really good.
They're actually coming out with a part two, ready or not, I heard.
I heard that
Really
too. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think she's on
interesting.
board too.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
Grace
cool.
is coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully she marries a little bit better this time if she's getting married. If it's Oh, that I love that movie. Also, I'm like, wait, you couldn't have told her any of that? Like you couldn't have warned her? Like, come on. Like, who would leave that to chance? Get out of
Mm-hmm.
here. So,
I know.
anyway. Yeah. Yeah, lots of cool things happening, and I really, really hope that we have, like you were saying, the genre just keeps going and going, and that they keep funding
Hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. All right, y'all. Well, um, unless anyone has anything else, I think we'll wrap this one up.
Yay.
This
Nice.
was
Yeah.
so great. It's such a privilege. It was such a privilege being able to speak with both of you, Kimberly and Margaret. This was a treat for me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Likewise.
likewise. Yes. Yes.
Loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it again sometime. We can talk about, we'll pick something else and yeah, would love to keep having these discussions and keep delving into horror. So,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
all right,
Please.
everybody. Well, everyone that's watching, go check out these ladies' Substacks. I will be linking them somewhere in the description at some point. And yeah, follow these ladies, and hopefully you can tune in for the next time we have a discussion.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you. You
everyone.